on the E36 Compact today. It's a 318 Ti and it's in a pretty tired state. But today we're not going to be doing anything with that. We're going to be doing something that makes it look pretty sick. In fact, we're going to be fitting a GT wing to the back of this. In America, you'd know them as an LTW wing. And we might even put some extensions on the front lip. Why, you might ask? Well, we're actually going to be fixing the paint on this car and doing something that could be quite controversial with its look. We will tell you later on in the video. I've owned this 318 Ti for a few years now, and it's not fast, but it's really enjoyable to drive, especially when you're zipping down country roads. It is really a joy. We've already done some upgrades on it. We've fitted full coilovers, we've got motorsport wheels with great rubber on them, we've fitted some 1 Series seats that are a revelation. Should go back and watch the video on them. We've also put some genuine M3 mirrors on it, although they don't look quite genuine at the moment in the satin black. And along the way, we've given it all the servicing that it's required. Make sure you do look at the playlist for this, because there's some really hot videos on it. Let me show you the parts and explain the plan. Fitting a GT wing to a compact boot lid, which is actually really a hatchback, is a little bit more complex than fitting it to a coupé. This is a coupé wing, and we are going to have to do some modifications to get it to work. The one I've got here is actually from eBay, and we will link to it. Importantly, it's ABS plastic, it's not fiberglass, and the good thing is it's really good quality. The kit comes in 4 parts. You've got the top wing, 2 risers and the bottom one, and there can be discussion as to whether you have the risers or not. Either way is absolutely fine. Now this technically is a GT wing, and let me explain why. The LTW was a very limited edition in the States, and it needed to have a 3rd brake light in the lower wing. Technically, without that 3rd brake light, it is a GT wing, but in America, whether it has a brake light or not, they would think of it as an LTW wing. For fitting it to a compact, let me show you the problem we've got to overcome. The problem is that the base doesn't sit flush on the compact hatch. It goes too far forward onto the window. So what we're going to have to do is modify this so that this all sits flush and it doesn't actually cause a problem with the window. And we've got a cunning plan, which is a bit experimental, to try and modify this. So let's go back to the bench and get ready to do our modification. It does come with a fitting kit with 2 different sizes of bolts. And the first thing we're going to do is to actually fit the risers, and to do that we actually need to do a bit of drilling. The holes on the riser are already in place, but on this base plate there's actually 2 holes that you need to drill out yourself. They're M6 fixings, so what we're going to do is do them 6.5mm, which should give us a little bit of wiggle room for when we're fitting it. We've put the risers on because the technique that we're going to try, we do want to use these to support this part. But before we actually do it, we're going to put some tape in to protect this area. If you were doing it on a car that's got great paint, unlike this one, you'd put tape all over your boot for now so you didn't scratch it. As we're redoing this paint, we're not bothered. To make sure we get this right, I've actually marked it with a marker so that this is positioned right and we can see where the actual join is between the glass and the bodywork. But don't worry, it's a dry wipe. How am I going to get the clearance on here? Well, if you remember, I did say ABS plastic, not fiberglass. This won't work with fiberglass. What I'm going to do is use a heat gun to heat the corner and press it down. This is heat set plastic, and to be honest, for us this is a bit of an experiment. We have heard that it works. We'll find out together. Now, our understanding is this plastic becomes quite soft at 105 degrees centigrade. So we'd recommend you got a hot air gun that you can control the temperature on. We're setting this to 400 degrees in an effort to get this to 105 without burning it.
Well,
I think you might be done. Kept the pressure on it and gave it a blow so it'd cool down again. Now hopefully it'll keep the shape. We'll do this one, get it as well fitted as we can, take the tape off and assess how it looks. It looks to have gone very well, but until we take the tape off, you can't really tell. So we're going to do that now and try it against it.
Put it lined up.
I think that's good to go.
I think it's pretty good as well. We could make more tweaks with it, but we'd probably make it worse.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it now.
We could
spot on.
snatch defeat out the jaws of victory,
As
and
we
we're not
often
going
do.
to.
Right.
The heat treatment seems to have worked quite well, giving us clearance on the glass. So now we're on to the bit that most people, including us, would worry about, which is actually drilling the holes in the boot hatch lid so that it'll actually attach. The holes, there's two on each side, will be something like that position there. But inside, it's actually a box section. What we're planning to do is not worry about this side yet. Mark this up very carefully by putting some masking tape on, working out the positions, and then drilling through so that we hit the box section and can see where we need to make holes on that side. To position the holes, what we're going to do is use these ones as a reference. So we've got masking tape on, and just make sure that is straight up and make a mark in the masking tape so that when we put this on, the holes are indicated underneath. Let me just show you. There and there. And now what we do is back on the bench. And now we'll put some masking tape on here, and I'll use that line as a guide. Just need to make sure it's nice and flat. So I can see where the screws are, the nuts, and I can see where the holes are. Now, I should be able to spot the middle of that one and the middle of that one. And the holes we want to drill is going to be that one and that one. Oops. Yeah. Now, you're going to think, how's this going to work? Well, I peel this off. And remembering I want the sticky side up, which makes it a bit awkward. Line up these two with the marks we've made before, and then make marks for where the holes want to be. And as a sanity check, I will make sure these holes are outboard of those, because that's the way they are actually on the base plate. Before you drill anything, measure twice, and if possible in two different ways, and only cut once. Now I can see that this hole from the middle is about 32 millimeters, and this hole from the middle is more like 40 millimeters. So check in here, that looks like 40, that looks like 32. So I'm reasonably confident that those holes are going to be in the right place. So that's where the drill holes are going to go. Let's see where they're coming through to. Well, it isn't on the actual box section. It's about, well, looks like a centimetre in, but it might be a bit tight there, we'll have to see. And this one looks fine, and handily we might be able to take that bung out so we can get at the back side of it and don't need to make a hole like we will up here. Those were the pilot holes. I did 3mm, and this is a 6.5mm. Boot ventilation. So let's see if the theory on the bungs holds good. Let's put tape round it so that I can put it into exactly the same depth. It was going so well until there's some sort of a box section inside here. So although we've got the holes at the top, we can't get through from this bit straight away. So we're probably going to have to drill through this hole to make access to get through with these with the bolt. Here we have a different issue in that the rubber seal for the boot actually comes on this face. So what we're thinking of doing is making an access window. Hopefully we'll make one that we can put a rubber grommet bung in eventually, so that we can get at the back side to get onto this particular bolt. So what we're intending to do now is we're going to make a window here. Hopefully we'll be able to put a cap-headed screw through to the hole and tighten it up with an Allen key going this way. And I'm going to use this hole enlarger drill to get as big a hole as I can here. I'll link to these in the description. It's now at 20mm, the max size of this, but I can easily get a grommet in that size. We're trying to get to this hole now from this side, and one of the thoughts we had was to go through the bung hole, and you've seen me take the bung out. but there is a skin inside, and we did think maybe we could drill through that and try. However, we think this access hole is such a good idea. We're going to put another one in here so we can get at the back side of that one. We're only going to have the same problems here as we have here, which we should be able to overcome. So we've got two 20mm windows. What we're going to do now is see if we can make this work with these. We're not going to do all the rust proofing at this stage, simply because if we end up having to make these bigger, and there is room to make them bigger, then we'd have wasted a lot of time. The hardware that's come with the kit is fine if you're perhaps doing it on a coupé. However, because we're going in through these little tunnels, we decided we wanted to use cap head screws. So we've had a little bit of a frolic getting them prepared, but just so that you're aware, we're using cap heads. The front ones to connect to the boot are 13mm, the length of the thread, and the rear ones are 20mm, the length of the thread, which is the same as what the standard ones would have been. Now we're going to connect the risers to the top wing, and then we connect the lot to the bottom one, screw it to the car and get off home. Remember, these are nuts that are put into very flimsy plastic, so you don't want to go mad. So if I tighten this down till I can see the washer's not moving, and then just a little tweak, and that should be enough. There we go. Next thing is to put this base plate on. And this should be a bit easier. The easiest screws on it. It does look a bit savage.
The risers are optional, I suppose, but let's screw it on and see. We are having to adjust these holes a little bit for clearance. We're not proud of it, but it's going to work.
Savage. You wouldn't believe that's a period correct option from BMW, but maybe not for this car. As you saw, I had to get my technical consultant in with his hammers.
AKA Bodget and Scarpa.
It was a little more fiddly, the actual connection to the hatch. And yes, we're not overly proud of the cosmetics there at the moment, but what I'm going to look at doing is getting some grommets for that, and I will probably have that, as you'll see in this video. I'm actually very pleased with how it's gone on. And the big secret of what we're going to do is yet to be revealed. And there's a little bit more to attend to before we wrap this video up. And with what we've done at the back, we thought we'd have a little go at the front. So we've got these, which are GT Clubsport Ecken for BMW. E36 für M-Paket und M3. Therefore the Stoßstange. Basically what that means is these are the corners for the bumpers on the M Sport and M3 E36. Hopefully this will make the front look as outrageous as the back. And looking at the packaging, it does look, I mean they come from Germany and the branding does look period correct, never mind the parts being period correct. And this is where they go. And the best bit is they actually use the original holes for fasteners that hold this on. Might have to use some different fasteners with it. I'll show you from underneath in a second. It should be really easy this, but we thought that about the spoiler. So that's how you install a GT wing on a E36 Compact 318 Ti. And it's also how you install those corners at the front, which really improve the look. I'll link to both of those items in the description. We will have that wing back off and we'll use a lot of Tiger Seal when we put it back on next. But the car is due a paint job. We don't want to be dragging all that off when we're actually getting ready for that. Also teased earlier in the video about some controversial plans. Well, you'll have noticed we put period correct parts on that would fit on an M3, and this is just a Compact. To make sense of the modifications I'm doing, you need to realise I really wanted an M3 GT back in the day. So we're going to paint this British racing green and turn it into an M3 GT tribute car. And people will see it from the front and think, whoa, that's a rare car. And then they'll see that it's a Compact and they'll think, God, that's an even rarer car. Rare because they never made anything like it. If you've enjoyed this and you want to see if we actually do fulfill the promise of this, why not subscribe? Give us a thumbs up anyway.